stretching as far as the eyes can see. The torrid wind whistles past the ear, carrying minuscule grains of sand, cutting like shards of glass. Not a speck of green in sight. Wait, is this about the Middle East?
I've lived there most of my life, and I have no clue what you're talking about.
That makes the two of us. In the Middle East, I know I've watched the sun rise over towering skyscrapers and set over the glistening ocean.
In retrospect, the only link between the both of us is that we live abroad. Otherwise, we're as different as chalk and cheese. I, for one, am fascinated by geography and international relations, being a humanities student.
And as any other science student, I'm captivated by molecules and the living world.
Apart from staring at maps, my days are mostly spent on the court, playing badminton.
Well, I could spend hours on end singing and playing the piano.
Coming to the most poignant difference, our accents. Let us, however, return to the similarity between us. My family moved from Mumbai to Kuwait when I was 8. And though it sounds utterly ridiculous now, I was petrified about landing up in the middle of a desert, potentially having to drink camel's milk. However, I was pleasantly surprised to see neatly trimmed hedges and relieved to have access to regular milk.
I, on the other hand, have never questioned the availability of things like milk, considering the fact that my parents settled in the Gulf when they began their professional life. Growing up in the UAE, I was exposed to a multitude of cultures originating from a variety of nationalities. And I now realize that not everybody is blessed with that privilege.
Now, let's cut to that part of the talk that I've been persistently insisting on.
Oh gosh, not another one of your Mythbusters.
You've hit the nail on the head. We're going to be providing some geographical clarity as well as some intellectual enlightenment regarding the Middle East. On your tables are paddles that you can raise to share your conceptions on the Middle East.
For our first question, is Kuwait the capital of A. Qatar, B. Oman, or C. Bahrain?
A bouncer. The actual answer is none of the above. Kuwait occupies a pea-sized portion of the world map and has the highest valued currency in the world. Yet, it gets mistaken for its neighbors.
On to our next question. What is the capital of the United Arab Emirates? Is it A. Dubai, B. Abu Dhabi, or C. Sharjah?
Well, if you guessed Dubai, you're absolutely wrong. Moving on to our next question. What was the currency that was in circulation when Kuwait gained independence from Great Britain in 1961? Was it A, the dinars, B, the British pounds, or C, the Gulf rupee? Well, an unexpected bit of trivia, right? The Persian Gulf rupee, issued by the Reserve Bank of India, was in circulation along with a few foreign coins in 1961.
Now, on to our last and final question. Which nationality makes up the highest proportion of the population in the UAE? Is it A, Emiratis, B, Egyptians, or C, Indians?
Well, if you guessed Indians, you're absolutely right. They make up 38% of the total population, whereas the native Emiratis make up a mere 12% of the population.
I hope this shocking tidbit of information reinforces why the UAE is also called the hub of Indians, and within that hub, an even larger hub of Malayalis. The discovery of oil, the relatively liberal society, and its tax-free status has attracted many global expatriates.
Getting back on track, it's time to address the pertinent issue that this build-up has been leading us to. We live in conflicted times. Big words are thrown about the destruction and elimination of entire countries off the map.
Most of these conflicts are pushed aside due to being misinterpreted as being too complex for simpler solutions.
Since we neither have the qualifications
Nor the wisdom.
that seems to come with grey hair to talk about the intricacies of creating change, it is purely on the basis of our minimal lived experience that we want to pose a few questions.
Does experiencing a multitude of cultures make us more rigid?
Does it weaken the bond we have with our own culture?
Is creating change anything more than taking pride in who we are and keeping an open mind about versatile societies?
To find answers to these questions, we need to dive into a few examples, both personal as well as real world. Usually, preceding my arrival in India, there's a whirlwind of activity at my relative's house, trying to simulate the environment I live in. As soon as I step out of the arrival gates, I'm bombarded with UV-filtered, mineral-enriched water and even a portable fan, as they try to simulate the environment I live in. And as they assume that I'm constantly exposed to scorching sunlight and torrid winds, as the Middle East is commonly stereotyped.
Giving in to the Gulf kid stereotype, sometimes the first thing I crave when I land in India is a good old shawarma. And I mean, that's okay. These stereotypes must have originated from somewhere, right? And it's not that the stereotype is false or wrong. What's wrong is when the stereotype becomes the one and only truth.
So, since we have a couple of questions that need to be answered, and we realize that as NRIs, we're stereotyped as being culturally disconnected. We're viewed as sheltered individuals, culturally blindsided and ignorant about our home country. However, exposure to distinct cultural elements has actually helped me appreciate what our own culture seems to offer.
Taking the example of our own classmates, who sometimes argue about the establishment of an outlet of an international brand like Nike, Miniso, or Forever 21 has enhanced the appeal of their city. Hearing them counter each other, I can't help but think that the craze back home in Dubai is never the establishment of a new outlet, but rather a new restaurant boasting Greek or Indian fusion food, or maybe even a Shaolin warrior show. It's sometimes perplexing to think that the people in India often forget that this country is filthy rich in culture, history, and heritage.
Similarly, some of the fondest memories I have of Kuwait are spotting Arabic people enjoying ghee roast at the singular branch of Sarna Bhavan, or hearing them try to pronounce the names of the dishes on the menu with accuracy, often whipping out Google Translate and enabling the voice feature. Integration of culture is meant to broaden our outlook, not only towards other cultures, but also look at our own through a more positive lens.
Till now, we've been discussing examples of cultural integration from our personal lives. But are there positive examples in the real world? Or what about integration in science? Mendel began the genetic revolution by deviating from the norms of biological study. He integrated math, statistics, and probability with biological analysis, something considered ludicrous back then. He received a lot of criticism from the scientific community, and the ideas he proposed were considered to be baseless and took time to be accepted. Yet, without his contributions, we would not be where we are today in the fields of genetic research, human genome analysis, or gene editing. Imagine a world where we can't crack a joke about being two peas in a pod.
That would be such a gloomy and desolate world. Similar parallels can be drawn in the workings of our society. Tribes have roamed the arid Arabian landscape for over 1,000 years. These tribes, popularly called Bedouins, have been successfully integrated into mainstream society in countries like Saudi Arabia. The catchy advertisements to discover lush date palms and falconry in Saudi Arabia would not be a reality today if these communities had not been successfully integrated. In stark contrast, violence in already conflicted areas like Iraq have been exacerbated by Bedouins demanding basic rights to housing and water supply. Integration could be the key element to creating a more prosperous society.
No community should be categorized under a singular label. In a rapidly modernizing society, we can never embody a singular culture. Just like how we, as an individual, are sum of our parts. We are some of our friends, our environments, and our heritage. Just like how I wouldn't be Anna without my accent, or my love for baking French pastries, or for rediscovering 70s music.
Likewise, I wouldn't be Kamalini without my love for chettinad chicken, my love for studying endless variations of the Queen's Gambit over a chessboard, or my fascination with Arabic calligraphy.
These elements which have shaped our personality are a result of realizing that I was different from the students of other nationalities at school. We are so complex individually, yet at the same time, we all listen to the same music, grew up watching the same movies, and read all the same books. In a way, these mediums brought people of such diverse cultural upbringings together, hence normalizing and raising awareness about the fact that we're all different, and that's okay. Difference is universal, and that is the essence of being human.
Well, there have been a variety of strands in our talk today. But our main aim was to create a vibrant fabric around the idea of tolerance and cultural integration. These elements could be the missing pieces of the jigsaw of world peace.
Therefore, there is a definitive answer to the questions we asked in the beginning of our talk. Experiencing diversity does result in the fluidity of cultures.
Integration of culture does lead to greater cultural appreciation and strengthening of the bond that we have with our own culture.
Maybe creating change is just as simple as celebrating the differences between us. Thank you.